Welcome back to the Gweilo 60 channel. I'm driving down the road here in Nanning City, hotter than 10 bear, and then all of a sudden the skies open up and it starts raining cats and dogs. You know, it's one of those things. In a subtropical area like this, the weather changes on a dime. Like seriously, it does. I stopped here so you could see the growth in this area of Nanning City. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, these apartments over here weren't here. 5 years ago, those apartments weren't here. See the ones being built with the green safety net around them? 18 months ago, there was nothing there except for a field. It's one of those things that I just can't emphasize enough to people that watch this channel how fast China is growing. And Nanning is a city that's sort of off the beaten path. We're an hour and a half from the South China Sea. We're an hour and a half from the Vietnamese border. We're mostly an agricultural autonomous region. The Zong minority, it's sort of like when you get into Xinjiang, you got the Uyghurs. When you get into Mongolia, you got the Mongolian. And when you get into Guangxi, you got the Zong people. And that's what makes it an autonomous region, sort of a special region of China, where they sort of acknowledge that there's a minority there that has tradition, cultural history, and all of that goes back long before the Communist Party of China was even thought of, type thing. So they respect that here in China. And I think that the Western world, being a world, especially in Canada, the United States, and Australia, well, Australia with the Aboriginal people, in North America with the North American Indians, where they had zero respect for those cultures. You know, beating the Indian out of the child. You know, getting rid of the Indian and the child. We've heard that, and you've heard that on my channel a number of times. But in China, it's different. And I've read some comments where when you're doing something, when the West is doing something, when Germany during the Holocaust was doing bad things, their idea was to accuse others of doing those bad things. And that would sort of take the emphasis off you as a society that was doing those bad things. Well, you see a lot from the United States doing exactly that right now. Pushing the idea that China is somehow doing bad things, these bad things, genocide to the Uyghur people, or forced labor. Damn, the United States still does forced labor in their penal system, and you have to work. You have no choice. If you don't, you go to the hole. It's just the way it is. In Canada, you know, the Indians, the North American Indians, or the Cree, the Dene, or whatever, they're still stuck on reserve land. If you stay on reserve land, you don't have to pay taxes. You come into the city, you lose all of that stuff. If you're an Indian lady and marries a white guy back in the day, well, you lose all of your benefits. We don't recognize your heritage. All these things like that. Well, you see, in China, it's not like that. In China, they try to protect those minorities to the point of giving them an easier way to get into university. You don't have to have that high academic, damn my lips, you don't have to have that high academic level to enter some of the universities, or all of the universities for that matter. You don't have these obstacles put in front of you. The Zong people in Guangxi Autonomous Region do not have to live on reservations. Up until the 60s in Canada, you need a ticket, an okay from a white guy to leave the reservation and go into the big city. You weren't allowed in bars. You weren't allowed to vote, for sure. You know what I mean? And to this day in Canada, most of those reserves, well, not most, a lot, let's say a lot of those reserves still don't have drinking water. That they're under drinking water advisories on a regular basis. I know that the mainstream media and the politicians and whatever in the West, and they'll tell you whatever you want to hear, that you're number one and you're the freest society on the planet, on planet Earth. You are the freest society, and you've got it better than anyone else. Well, the people that travel know this isn't true. The people that have spent a lot of time in China know this isn't true. If you took a Canadian Cree Indian from La Ronge and brought them to a village here in Guangxi Autonomous Region, and they could talk back and forth between minorities in two different countries, I would just about guarantee you that Cree Indian would want to move to that village in Guangxi Autonomous Region. Well, maybe not in the summertime, because holy smokes, she gets hot here in the summertime, I'm telling you. But the benefits, financial, economic, for the children, for, you know, just your daily life is so much better here in China than it is for the minorities in these so-called free countries, that I don't see where people start to actually believe this. Because as a Canadian, as a boomer Canadian, I've seen the residential schools right beside our schools. I've seen people on reserve. I've seen jails full of Canadian Indians where they're a small minority population, but they're a majority population in some of the prisons. And if you get into talking to the politicians, well, they'll say that, well, they're more apt to commit crimes. Well, you got to figure out, why is that? Same thing in the United States. For black people, they've got a bigger, they're a minority, but they've got a bigger population in the prisons than they do on the streets of the country. Well, why is that? Well, because they've been pushed into poverty. Poverty breeds drug addiction, alcohol addiction. Poverty breeds despair. Poverty breeds dope dealers. Well, you know, it does. Poverty breeds all of these things, and then when you get 3, 4, 5 generations down the road, it's just sort of like a downhill frickin' a snowball type thing, because it's snowball effect. That's what I was going for. Because you get, say, grandma was drinking a bunch of whiskey and had your mother, and your mother was born with fetal alcohol syndrome, and she drank whiskey, and she had you, and you have fetal alcohol syndrome, and unemployable, have medical and physical problems, you have, you know, all of these different things. So it starts somewhere. In China, it never started. They took care of their minorities. They, you know, when they talk about genocide in the Uyghur population in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region, up in the northeastern part of China, well, since they've been talking about this genocide, the population of the Uyghur people, I think, went from 8 million to 12 million. Yeah, I know. So, like, just in that little area, and this is a low population area of China. So, and I think that the Han has either stayed level or actually dropped a little bit in that area for population. So the idea of genocide is bullshit. Is bullshit. You're being lied to by your mainstream media, your politicians. And as I say, as a Canadian, watching this actually happen over the years, I've seen it. So when the news tells me that the North American Indians, the Canadian Indians have got it good, have got this, have got that, well, we know it's not true, because we see it on a daily basis where it's a lie. But a lot of the people, a lot of you Canadians out there, a lot of you Americans out there, you believe that bullshit. Oh, African Americans are more apt to commit crimes because they're African Americans. No, it's because they've been shit on for years and years and years, and they don't have any other way to create wealth for their family, take care of their kids. And there are some that excel, no doubt about that. But you've got a good number of them. end up doing crime, going to prison. Single mothers because dad's in prison because he was trying to make money selling dope or whatever. It doesn't matter how it comes down. It's because of the society that they've been thrown into. And China's different. China didn't throw them into that society. So next time somebody tells you that the minorities here in China are being somehow mistreated, tell them that you know it's bullshit because Gweilo 60 told you so. And I've been here for 20 years and I've seen it all. So that's another video from Gweilo 60 in front of a bunch of big buildings here and a little park in Nanning. Yes, no homeless people. You got it. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. Don't forget to resubscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell. And you know the score. Peace out. Until next time. Bye now.